Okay, so we're diving into dropshipping this time.
Right.
You've been looking into this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been digging into it.
Specifically, this course about making it work organically on Shopify.
Right.
And it's targeting a Spanish-speaking audience,
Yeah.
which is interesting. No big ad budgets,
Yeah.
just like social media magic is what
Yeah.
they're promising.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about this one is this whole like organic approach. Usually when you hear drop shipping, you hear like crazy Facebook ad campaigns and spending tons of money.
Right.
But this is like working with the algorithm instead of against it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the instructor, let's call him Mark.
Okay.
He is so big on calling out all the hype, like
Yeah.
all the get-rich-quick stuff. He's like, no, put in the work.
It's refreshing.
Build something real.
Yeah.
Totally. He even calls out like all the lazy content traps people fall into.
Which I think brings up a really interesting question for us to dig into, which is like, what does ethical and professional dropshipping actually look like?
Yeah.
Because he's clearly trying to position himself there.
Yes. And one of the things that jumps out is this idea of video retention.
Okay.
He's like obsessed with it. He's like, this is the metric.
Uh-huh.
Like more than followers.
Yeah.
Video retention is king.
And he's right.
Why? Why is that?
Well, because think about it, like social media platforms are businesses at the end of the day.
Okay.
They want to make money. How do they make money? Ads.
Right.
So the longer they can keep someone's eyeballs on the screen,
Okay.
the more ads they can show them. So if your video is something that people are watching all the way through,
The algorithm is happy.
the algorithm is very happy. And they're going to show it to more people.
But if people are clicking away after 3 seconds,
It's like you're
it's like you get sent to social media jail.
basically, which is why he uses that driving analogy.
Right. Right.
You could speed, you could try to like beat the system,
Yeah.
but eventually you're going to get caught. And it's much better to just like learn the rules of the road, drive safely, and build that organic reach over time.
So no cutting corners, basically.
Pretty much.
All right. But then he says you should be posting 3 videos a day,
Okay.
every single day.
That's a lot.
That's a grind. It's strategic, though.
Okay.
He's saying, like, hit those peak engagement times, lunch break, on the commute home.
Oh, for sure. I'm scrolling.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
I'm definitely scrolling during those times. Maybe even like sneaking a peek during a meeting you're not supposed to be on your phone at.
Oh, yeah.
He says, think about like, okay, if you're selling to night owls,
Right.
you're not posting at like 8 a.m. when they're asleep.
That makes sense.
You got to adjust it to your ideal customer.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I never even thought of it that way. Instead of just, like, shouting into the void,
Totally.
it's like showing up when they're actually listening.
You're showing up at the party at the right time.
Exactly. Okay, so speaking of knowing your audience,
Right.
he's very big on branding over shop.
Yeah.
He's like, people connect with brands, with stories,
They want to be a part of something.
not just a shop.
Right.
Like, not just Bob's game store,
Exactly.
He's like, no brand, like nostalgic retro or something cooler.
Find that emotion. That like feeling of, I want to be a part of this.
And it all comes back to knowing who you're speaking to.
100%.
Like for that retro console, he had this whole picture of who this ideal customer was.
Yeah.
Like, grew up playing Pokemon, wants those like carefree days back.
Yeah, he's really honing in on like the why behind the what.
Okay.
And that's where his whole content strategy comes in. And he's really big on like ditch the played out storylines. Like we've all seen them
Yeah.
a million times. Do something that's either visually stunning
Oh.
or insanely useful for that person.
And fast.
And fast. Yes.
That's wow factor.
Our attention spans are like
So,
non-existent these days, so you got to grab them.
especially on TikTok.
Especially on TikTok. He's all about Canva.
Canva, love it.
Easy, accessible, you can create great stuff. He even says like, grab product shots straight from Amazon.
Oh, interesting.
Work smarter, not harder.
Okay, so we've talked content, branding. What about actually finding products to sell?
Right.
That to me always felt like the hardest part.
Well, this is where things get a little sneaky.
Okay.
A little bit of what he calls ethical spying on your competition.
Wait, what? Tell me more about that. Wait, what? Tell me more about that.
So he's like, you can use platforms like AliExpress.
Okay.
Not just to source products.
Right.
But to actually find winning product ideas.
So like see what's trending, what's already selling well.
Exactly. He even says like, go check out their reviews.
Oh,
See what people are saying. Like,
Okay.
what did they love? What did they hate? It's like valuable market research.
That's so smart. Okay, so we found our niche. We're branding it up, right?
Okay.
What about pricing?
This is where he gets a little psychological.
Okay.
It's like double your product cost as like a starting point,
Uh-huh.
and then always end in 0.95.
That feels cheaper trick.
That feels cheaper. I mean, we've all fallen for it.
Oh, yeah, it worked
So
out.
like our brains just see that 0.95 and we're like, ooh, a deal.
It's like $2 cheaper.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm getting the sense this guy does not,
He doesn't hold back.
yeah, he does not hold back at all.
She's like, I'm going to give you the real tactics here.
Yeah. Okay, so what about setting up the shop itself?
Okay, so Shopify. Keep it simple,
Okay,
mobile friendly.
makes sense.
He walks you through like creating this like bare bones Shopify store that's fast, easy to use on your phone.
Right, because most people are on their phones.
Most people are on their phones. Like, forget about desktops.
Yeah.
So that's his big thing.
What about all those, like, fancy features and apps?
He's like, just focus on the essentials.
Okay.
Get your brand colors right. Make sure like the legal stuff is all set up,
The legal stuff.
which no one likes to think about, but it's important.
Yes, it is very important.
So yeah, he's like, just get the essentials up and running.
Okay, so then it's like, okay, processing payments.
Okay.
This is where things always felt like
Yeah.
a little shady to me, the dropshipping world.
Yeah, and a lot of the advice gets real iffy around this, but he's actually very upfront about it.
Okay,
He's like, those processing fees,
right.
a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, you forget about them.
Yeah, and it's like, factor that into your pricing from the beginning.
So what's his go-to?
Stripe. He's like, Stripe or bust.
Okay.
He even says, like, if you're not in a fully supported country,
Okay.
jump through the hoops. Like, it's worth it.
Wow.
He walks you through, like, setting it up.
Okay.
So there's no, like, mystery there.
So we're processing payments. Our store is ready.
Right.
How do we actually get the products to people?
Okay, so this is where he talks about automation.
Okay.
Using apps like de-essers to, like, streamline everything. He's like, imagine waking up to hundreds of orders and having to, like, manually go in
Oh my gosh.
and do each one. He's like, that's a recipe for disaster.
My anxiety is like
Through the roof.
just going crazy right now.
You're like, you'll burn out so fast.
Yeah.
So that's why he's like, find those good suppliers. Make sure they understand dropshipping, that they're on board with your vision. Which actually, he gives some good tips on like how to actually vet suppliers.
Yeah. How do you do that?
He's like, order a sample.
Okay.
Like, you gotta know, what is the quality of this product?
Oh, that's smart.
How long does it actually take to ship?
Right.
Because you want to make sure it's something you stand behind.
You got to be proud of it.
Yeah, you're putting your name on this.
Exactly.
And that goes for customer service, too.
Okay.
He's a big believer in, like, going above and beyond.
So it's not just like set it and forget it.
No. He's like, respond quickly, resolve problems fairly.
Okay.
Think of it as, like, an opportunity to build a relationship.
Oh, that's interesting.
Turn a one-time buyer into, like, a raving fan.
I like that. It's a whole mindset shift. Instead of it being like a burden.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, this is a chance to like make a connection with somebody.
100%.
Cool.
And speaking of mindset, he doesn't shy away from the legal and ethical considerations,
Yeah, that's important.
which, like, a lot of these courses just kind of gloss over. He's like, no, be transparent.
Okay.
Make sure your refund policy is, like, very clear on your website.
Important.
Especially these days, people are worried about getting scammed.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, just address it head on.
Be upfront about it.
He's also big on, like, data privacy,
Oh, right.
GDPR, all that.
Mhm.
Especially if you're dealing with customers in the EU.
Yeah.
Like, those regulations are no joke.
I didn't even think about that.
It gets complicated fast.
Wow.
But he's like, I'm going to break it down for you. So you at least understand the basics.
It's good.
And then he even gets into, like, social responsibility,
Really?
ethical sourcing, trying to minimize your environmental impact.
Wow. I would not expect that from a dropshipping course.
You don't see that very often, but it's cool that he's bringing it up.
That's very cool. So it's not just about like making money at any cost.
Yeah.
It's about like doing it the right way.
Doing it sustainably, ethically.
Right.
And that's what I appreciate about his approach.
Yeah.
It's like, think critically about your own values and how you're approaching online business.
Yeah. It's not just chasing like dollar signs,
Exactly.
which you see a lot of.
So much of that out there.
We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we're getting into it.
It's surprisingly detailed, this guy's approach.
He really does, like, break it all down.
Yeah. And surprisingly transparent.
Yes.
For a dropshipping course,
Mhm.
you don't see that a lot.
And I think that's what makes it so much more valuable.
Yeah.
Because he's not afraid to, like, talk about the challenges.
Yeah.
But he also gives you the tools
Right.
to overcome them.
And not just like, here's the magic formula.
Yeah, there's no magic bullet.
He's like, here's how to think about it.
This is a real business.
Right.
You got to treat it that way.
You know what he doesn't really address, though, is how to scale this.
That's a good point.
This whole organic approach. Like, let's say it works.
Okay.
Your brand takes off.
Right, you're blowing up.
Now you've got thousands of orders coming in.
Yeah.
How do you keep up with that?
That's the golden question, isn't it?
Right.
And that brings us to another point he kind of touches on but doesn't really dive into,
Okay.
which is like these social media algorithms,
Oh, yeah.
they change all the time.
We're fickle.
They are so fickle. He's got all this great advice for like optimizing your content and everything.
Right.
But what happens when TikTok's like,
We're changing everything.
new algorithm, who dis?
It's happened before, and it will happen again.
They are fickle beasts, those algorithms. It's like you got to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Always be learning.
You ready to adapt?
Exactly.
So it's like he's teaching you to fish instead of just handing you the fish.
That's a good way to put it.
He's like, here are the tools, here's the knowledge.
Yeah, you got to be ready to use them.
But you got to put in the work.
And like be willing to learn as you go.
Because it's always changing, right?
Always. That's the thing about online business.
Right.
You can never get complacent.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
he had some pretty interesting thoughts on this whole, like,
Okay.
building hype before you even launch.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Like, before the product is even ready.
Okay.
How do you get people excited?
Yeah. How do you create that buzz?
He's all about, like, teasing it on social media.
Okay.
Like little sneak peeks.
Oh, I like that. Little behind the scenes.
Yeah. Maybe even doing, like, countdown timers,
Oh, fun.
giveaways,
Get people
get
involved.
people feeling like they're part of something.
Yeah, like FOMO. I got to get in on this.
Exactly. It's very smart.
It is. It is. And speaking of driving traffic,
Yeah.
he had some interesting advice there, too. Beyond just like, the usual TikTok stuff.
Right.
He loves Pinterest for dropshipping.
I always think of Pinterest for, like, recipes,
Yeah.
home decor.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
I
It's
still
like
see it.
pretty pictures.
It's a visual search engine. People
Yeah.
go on there to find stuff they want to buy.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so he's like,
That makes sense.
use that. Create those aspirational images.
Instead of just like on a plain background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Show it in a lifestyle shot. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, ooh, I want that life.
Exactly. And then, of course, he's all about the data.
Oh, yeah. Data's key.
Track everything.
See what's working, what's not.
Use those free tools like Google Analytics.
So important.
They can tell you a lot.
They can. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
for online visibility, Google is still king.
Google's still the king.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you got to be on Google.
100%. And he knows that. He doesn't shy away from that at all.
Right.
He's like SEO.
Right. SEO. Got to learn it.
Gotta learn the basics at least.
Yeah.
Make sure you're using the right keywords.
So people can actually find your store.
Yeah. No one's gonna find it if it's buried on like page 50 of the search results.
Exactly. But it's not just about getting people in the door.
Right.
It's about having them come back for more.
It's about building that brand loyalty.
Yes.
Having them be like, I love this brand.
Right. And I trust them.
I trust them. Exactly.
I'll buy more stuff.
And that, he says, can actually extend to having multiple product lines.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about finding that one winning product.
Oh, that makes sense. So, like, diversify a little
Like,
bit.
exactly. And diversify your traffic sources, too.
Oh, okay. How do you do that?
Like, let's say TikTok goes down tomorrow.
Oh, gosh, don't even say that.
I'm just saying, you got to be prepared.
Okay.
He's a huge advocate for email lists.
Oh, email's still around.
Email never died. It just got smarter. He's like, build that list
Okay.
so that you're not at the mercy of the algorithm.
That makes sense. So you have a way to contact people.
It's
throughout
that,
the
like,
day.
oh, wow.
Okay.
It's like your own little corner of the internet.
I like it.
You can reach out to them,
You're in control.
tell them about new products, special offers, you name it.
That's huge. I'm realizing through all of this,
Yeah.
like, it's not just about the tactics.
It's a mindset thing.
Yes. He talks about that a lot.
He does. Staying motivated even when it gets tough.
Because it will get tough.
Oh, it will. Building a business is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. So how do you deal with that?
Well, he's like, set realistic goals.
Okay.
Celebrate the small wins along the way.
Yes. Don't wait till, like, you're a millionaire to celebrate.
Exactly. And like surround yourself with people who get it.
That's huge. Find your people.
Find your people, yeah. He even recommends getting a mentor if you can.
Oh, that's interesting. Someone who's been there, done that.
Someone who's been there, done that, can offer guidance.
Because they know what you're going through?
Exactly. They've been in the trenches.
So after this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
what are your biggest takeaways?
Oh man, where do I even start? I think for me, it's that he's so transparent. Like you don't see that very often in these courses.
It's true.
And that makes me trust him more.
It feels more legit.
It does.
Like he's not trying to hide anything.
No. He's like, here's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And it's actually practical. Like he's giving you steps.
Yes. It's not just fluffy motivational stuff.
Look, you could take this and actually do something with it.
Yeah, like I feel equipped now.
And he's not saying like, this is the only way to do it.
Exactly.
He's like, this is how to think about it.
Here's how to approach it.
And things change, like you were saying before.
Bring in the time. You got to be ready to adapt.
So be ready for that.
Yeah. And that's what I appreciate about his approach.
Me too. He's setting you up for success.
He really is.
Long term.
Yeah, not just some overnight flash in the pan thing.
This has been a really insightful deep dive.
It has.
You know, one thing I'm curious about, though, that we didn't really touch on is AI. Like, how is AI going to change all of this?
Oh, that's a whole other deep dive.
I know, right?
Maybe we'll do that one next time.
We should.
Because it's only getting bigger.
It's the future.
That's a whole other can of worms.
It is. But for now, I think we've done enough drop shipping for one day.
I agree.
As always, thanks for diving in with me.
Anytime. This was fun.